All right, so today we're diving into a book from the 1820s that, at first glance looks like a simple farming guide. But let me tell you, William Cobbett's Cottage Economy is one of the most passionate and honestly, surprisingly political texts you'll ever read about keeping a pig. Cobbett just comes right out of the gate with this incredible statement. And right away, this isn't just about food. For him, a side of bacon is about morality, it's about family happiness, a good life. He's making this really bold claim that the real, tangible security of having your own food is way more powerful than any abstract sermon you could ever hear. You've got to remember the world he was living in. For a 19th century English cottager, life was lived on a knife's edge. I mean, you were often just one bad harvest away from real hunger. And Cobbett, he saw the humble pig as the way out of this desperate cycle. To him, it was all about independence, self-respect, and really the foundation of a happy home. And this is what gets to Cobbett's, his social theory of bacon. He genuinely believed that the sight of your own cured bacon hanging from the rafters was a better moral compass than the threat of prison. He argued it softened tempers, created peace in the house, and kept a person on the straight and narrow. For Cobbett, a well-stocked larder was the source of true domestic bliss. So how exactly did you get to this bacon-fueled happiness? Well, Cobbett was very, very specific. He laid out what he called a correct path, and it all started with one crucial decision: how you get your pig in the first place. And on this point, he is absolutely adamant. He basically argues that a cottager trying to breed their own pigs is on a fool's errand. You just can't compete with a farmer who's got access to corn, whey, and rich wash. The cottager's sow, he says, produces weak little piglets that often end up being sold for less than the food they ate. So what's the smart move? Buy a pig that's already weaned and ready to grow. So Cobbett's perfect formula was all about timing and age. He advised buying a 4-month-old spayed sow in the spring. Why? Well, this gave it the whole summer to graze and grow. His whole reasoning was that a hog that's at least a year old produces much better, more solid bacon, meat that wouldn't just boil out and shrink away to nothing in the cooking pot. Okay, this brings us to the most detailed part of the entire guide. For Cobbett, turning the pig into bacon isn't just a chore, it's an almost sacred process, a craft that ensures the family will be fed for a whole year. And believe me, every single step matters. And here we see Cobbett's obsession with quality in full force. He absolutely hated the common method of scalding a pig to remove its hair. He claimed it made the skin all flabby and the meat taste inferior. Instead, he championed the Hampshire way, burning the hair off with straw. This method, he swore, tightened the skin and was the secret to the region's famously delicious bacon. He describes this whole thing in such vivid detail. It should be done before daylight, he says, so you can see the flames better and make sure all the hair is gone. He frames it as a job for the whole family. And then he adds this wonderful little detail. You should do it because, as he says, boys always like a bonfire. Okay, next up is curing. According to Cobbett, the big secret was to never let the bacon sit in its own liquid brine. He insisted on a special trough that let it all drain away. The whole process involved regularly changing the dry salt and rotating the cuts of meat. Now, this used more salt, which was taxed back then, but Cobbett argued it was the only way to get that sweet, fine flavor and make sure the bacon would actually keep for a full year. The final steps are smoking and storing. He's very specific. Use only wood smoke, never coal or fir. Then comes this brilliant storage tip he actually learned from Americans. Pack the finished bacon in a chest filled with dry wood ashes. This keeps the flies out, and crucially, it keeps the air out, which keeps the bacon perfectly fresh for up to 2 years. Pretty clever, right? So after all that careful work, the selecting, the burning, the salting, the smoking, what was the payoff? Did it actually make financial sense for a poor family to do all this? Cobbett breaks down the numbers for us. He calculates the total investment for a good-sized hog, and that includes buying the piglet and fattening it on expensive corn at just 4 pounds and 5 shillings for the entire year. And this is where his economic argument really just hits home. He compares the annual cost of the pig, which, remember, provided a year's supply of quality meat, to other common expenses. He kind of scoffs at money being flung away on ale at the pub, but his real target was what he called miserable tea. He figured that a family's tea habit cost more than double the entire investment in a pig that could feed them for a year. But the value of the pig went so far beyond the initial cost. This wasn't just meat. It was a ready-to-eat meal for a worker out in the fields. It was nutritionally dense, providing what Cobbett called twice the strength of other meats. Plus, the pig gave you lard for cooking and valuable manure for the garden. It was a complete, self-sustaining system all in one animal. But this practical guide was also, believe it or not, a fiery political statement. In our final section here, we're going to see how, for Cobbett, fattening a hog was nothing less than an act of rebellion. You can just feel his rage here against what he calls the system. He connects everything he dislikes, bad economic policy, flimsy modern clothing, what he considered bad poetry. He rolls it all into one flashy and false modern world. And the honest, solid, tangible pig stands in direct opposition to all of it. For Cobbett, a family with meat in the house was like a moral fortress. They were harmonious, they were happy, and they were insulated from the failings of what he saw as a totally rotten, superficial society. Raising a pig was a way of taking control, of living a real and substantial life in a world that he felt had become fake. And that's really what makes this 200-year-old guide feel so modern. It's more than just a charming look at the past. It's a timeless, passionate argument for independence, for the dignity of labor, and for what it truly means to live a good life. For Cobbett, food was freedom. And his work leaves us with a question that feels more relevant today than ever. What does self-sufficiency mean now?